Welcome to Talking Army Football. This is Sal Introdonato, the Army football beat writer for the Times-Herald-Record, here with Tony Coaxum. Tony played for Army, defensive back, and was assistant coach for several years at the academy. And he was present in Colorado Springs Saturday for, wow, Tony, a total domination by Army, 21-0 win over Air Force. We could throw out all the years there. First win at Air Force since 2005. Now Army sets up a big Commander-in-Chief's trophy game against Navy on December 9th. Only the fourth time Army's won out there in Colorado Springs. And just wanted to get a first-person account from you about what it was like for an Army football grad and former coach to be at that game and see how Army performed.
Well, yeah, it was great. Just getting there, and I linked up with some of my classmates and some of my teammates who were there, and definitely it was you could feel the excitement and the anticipation. It was a very positive vibe by the group that I saw there and different people that I ran into. I ran into some former players and teammates while I was there as well. And, just being there from the get-go, just coming out and taking the opening drive, marching it down the field and getting that first score, kind of just, I think from the outset, set the tone that, hey, we're here to take this thing. And from start to finish, they played well. Defensively, they ran to the ball, and even when there were glimpses of, Air Force trying to make a play or get to the edge, our guys just ran them down. We were bigger than they were. We were faster than they were. It was really impressive just to see them go play. The guys played their tails off in order to get that win. And like I said, it was just really something fun to watch and feel it. And as each time it went along, you could just tell that we were kind of sucking the life out of them, and then letting them know, hey, this is our game, and they didn't disappoint.
Were you able to get onto the field for the celebration after the game or no?
Not right after. I went over to where where they come off, and still know some guys there, and I was able to go down. Kind of after the whole celebration was done, I went down onto the field, and I got to talk to Coach Munkin briefly, and just the excitement of seeing him there. He was kind of like right in the middle of the interview, and he saw me and yelled out, came over, gave him a big hug, and told him about it was him and the boys, and other coaches that are there that I know. I got to know the staff a little bit, since they've been there, and guys that I coached with Tucker Wall and Mike Beatty, who obviously he was playing when I was coaching, and Gaylord Green, and so I saw everybody, and it was great, and everybody was excited, and it was a real fun time to go out there, and I got to link up with a couple of the guys. I got to talk to Brett in person and really tell him how proud of him I was, and saw him after the game too. So it was really good to just to see the excitement on their faces, and it was excitement because they accomplished it. But another thing that was so impressive about it, it wasn't so far exciting that it was like they didn't expect it was going to happen. It was like, yeah, we're happy we won. We knew we were going to win, and we put in the work, and we're excited that we won. And it was okay. Let's go celebrate and go on. They were already there was no, you see what I'm saying? It's no overly like, oh my God, I can't believe we did this. It was like, yep, we prepped for this, and we went out and did it. We're enjoying it, and okay, we're going to celebrate, and we're ready for the next one. It was that time, and I love that feeling. And I saw just talking to those guys. It wasn't overblown of excitement that, hey, I can't believe we got this done. It was like, yep, we worked our tails off for this, and we did it, and we're going to enjoy it. But we're not surprised at that point.
Yeah, what do you think it means to a guy like Mike Vitti, who's played in these service academy games now, to coach in them and be a part of this team's run? It's incredible. And, being the fullbacks coach, they are very important to the offense. And he's done, without any coaching experience before last year, he's done a heck of a job with those guys.
Yeah, and Mike was a heck of a player. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Mike was playing the last time we beat them at Air Force. I think he was a player then in 2005. But yeah, I know, speaking of being a player myself, to get the chance to coach, just being around, it's like you're coaching your family. It's like you get to coach your younger brothers, and you want the best for them, and because you've been in those shoes, and you give everything you got, and yeah, the lack of coaching experience is just really you know, if you're a good football player and then as a smart person as he is, and how he works and grinds at it, you can learn that stuff. And, you know, he teaches them the fundamentals of the game because he was good at those fundamentals. And just being in their shoes, he gets that respect from them because he's been there. And, you know, on top of that, he's a great leader in himself, you know, so it's pretty easy for little guys to follow him and listen to what he says. Because he's such a detailed guy and he's such an intense guy, and it just makes sense. So again, it's like your big brother. You know, you listen to him, you feel like he's not going to steer you wrong. And like I said, I'm so proud of him as well. You know, I saw him in the tunnel, give him a big hug, and so proud of what he's doing. And you know, he's like I said, he's young in his career, and he's got a very bright future in his career as well. So yeah, I know what that feeling is like, being able to coach those guys in any type of win, but particularly, you know, in a academy win. You know, I wasn't able to be there. You know, I wasn't able to, when I was coaching, we didn't get a win over Navy, but we did beat Air Force. Yeah. I believe it was 2010, I believe, 10 or 12. And it was at Army, and just to be a part of that and see those guys' excitement getting that academy win, I know what those emotions are like. So it's a special thing.
Yeah, I was talking to Dustin Plumidor. He was a captain back in the early 2000s, and he was telling me he thinks Mike Vitti has head coach written all over himself. You know, down the road. And at the academy. Coach Munkin signed a recent contract extension. He's going to be there for a while, but it's great to have those guys like you and him on the staff for players, just to give your experiences as a cadet, and then, you know, in the Army, you know, after graduation. Tell me, you talked about Brett Toth a little bit, and you were able to see him. I mean, Ahmad Bradshaw, what a performance there, 265 yards rushing. And, you know, when I get Ahmad on to the phone after the game, the first thing he really has to say is how his offensive line opened up the holes for him, and how his fullbacks and running backs and wide receivers, how everyone blocked for him. He wouldn't have had the game that he had without them. And you just look at, you know, Kel can't leave out Kel Walker. He had 2 touchdown runs too. And on Kel's first run, you see Brett Toth kind of securing the sidelines so Kel can run down them for that touchdown. I mean, yeah. I was talking to Coach Munkin and Brett and Bryce Holland and Josh Boylan, their offensive linemen, last week, how physical these academy games can be, and how they're usually, a lot of it is won in the trenches to a point. And Bryce Holland said, you know, not physically they're not different, but mentally we just have in our minds a different, you know, just different, you know, intensity when it comes to these games. And wow, what a job they did, Tony, the offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the essence behind any really good football team is the line, the O-line and D-line. If you have a good O-line, you have a good D-line, you know, that side of the ball is going to be good. You know what I mean? That unit's probably going to be really good because they set the tone. They're the guys that don't get much of the credit. And it's so, especially in the offensive line, to where it's all about, most of the time you get notices if you screw up. You know, if you miss a block or you get a penalty or something like that. Other than that, you don't have a stat line for those guys. You know what I mean? And with that group, it's so much more being on. It's so much of the sum of the parts is greater than the individuals involved. You know what I mean? Yeah. And because they have to work so much together, and it's so much of a mindset, and you know, they've really bought into that. It's a funny thing because I think that Holland's his dad was sitting right behind me at the game. You know, and we started talking, and come to find out, you know, that was his dad. So. But it was really impressive. I mean, they took over the game, you know what I mean? And they just slowly grinded them out and kind of put the slow chokehold on them, and just, you know, made the room so those guys can run the ball and get those shots. And obviously when you see those big guys running down the sideline, like you said, and clearing away, that's even more imposing. When you say, hey, those guys, not only they're making room about 4 or 5 yards down the line of scrimmage, but now you see them pulling out there, and they're 15, 20 yards down the field, and the running backs behind them or the quarterback's right there with their hand in their back just leading the way. That fires the whole team up. You know what I mean? Because that you know, that's the type of stuff that's the real essence of football. When you can, I tell people all the time, the beautiful thing about this game is you can walk up to the line of scrimmage and tell the defense, we're running the ball right here. You can point and say, we're running it right here.
Yeah.
And if your offensive line executes and your guys execute, there's nothing they can do about it because it's a physical fight between two men and a group of men. And that's pretty much what the whole game was. We didn't attempt to pass.
Yeah.
They knew what we were running. We knew what we were doing with the ball. The fourth time we had a quarterback sneak, they probably know, hey, they're probably going to quarterback sneak it here. Or it's going to be something in this, in this A-gap or, right in the middle of the field. And we pick up 3 or 4 yards on those plays. So,
yeah.
And that's demoralizing for another team when you know what they're going to do, but if you can't stop it, it sucks the life out of you. It takes the out of you. So it was really impressive to see that. And so this is the first time I got to see Brett face to face in a while. And boy, he looks like a grown man now. You know what I mean? He was before when he came in when I was recruiting him, and he was coming to camps. He looked like a big kid. You know what I mean? He was a big, he was 6'5", whatever he was, and he had a baby face, and now he looks like a grown man. So and I told him how proud I was of him, and I got to see his dad. His dad was up in the same section and all that. So it was really good to see that.
Yeah, Army posted a Twitter on Twitter. I think it was last week that 25 teams have come to their practices or games this year, and all 25 are looking at Brett. He is a no doubt NFL prospect, and we'll see how that plays out. Like you said, 59 plays, 59 runs. Ahmad Bradshaw had 23 rushes in this game. 14 were for first downs, Tony. I mean, that's more than 50%. I mean, that is an incredible number. And just his the leadership, and I guess what can we say about his maybe we call it guts, because he was sick, that he had a stomach bug, and when he goes to the sidelines and is vomiting in the first quarter, you're like, uh-oh. But he missed one play, the mandatory play, got right back in there and never came out again.
Yeah, like I said, he's a tough kid. He's grown into that leadership position because being an option quarterback is so tough, not only physically but just learning the offense. The early part struggles of just a lot of teams don't run. People think a lot of teams don't run it because it's for less athletic teams, which is not true. You know what I mean? If you have a lot of stuck athletes and a lot of speed guys that can really move the ball, now you got a chance of all three of them touch the ball at one time. What makes a lot of teams not want to run the offense is the higher risk of having mishaps with the ball handling. Because now instead of conventional offense, you got one exchange to worry about. You hand it off to the back, or the quarterback keeps it, or at most these read options is 2. We're here, in the triple option, you have potentially 3 different times that ball that are at high risk positions. The quarterback exchange, which is the lowest risk, but then the mess with the fullback, and then the potential pitch. So that's what makes this offense so difficult to run, and not as popular because it increases the amount of time that it's being handled. And he experienced those issues early on, and I guess the last year or the year before, he had 30 fumbles over the offense in general.
It was crazy.
Him. Yeah. And I think he's maybe had 1 or 2 this year, and that's growing in the offense. And and he's built like a running back, man. He's all of 5'8", probably 220 pounds now, and he's so strong and all that. So you just have like another running back there with the ball. So he's definitely the leader and the motor, and that's what you got to have in this offense. You got to have that trigger man who can run the offense to pretty much perfection, and that's where he is right now. He can run this thing into sleep.
Yeah, and I was gonna write something tomorrow for Wednesday's paper just about. You got to put Ahmad's name now amongst one of the more decorated quarterbacks in Army football history. Now, if they're able to win the CIC trophy this year, he's going to be right up there, Tony, because you look at what he's done in the last 2 years. I mean, the drive against Navy, the drive against North Texas to win the bowl game, and now this game against Air Force. I don't know what your opinion is on it. I know Army's had some great triple option quarterbacks. Ronnie Makeda is number 1 that comes to mind, and Trent Steelman also. But Ahmad is going to be right up there after his career is over, because these accomplishments are Army's on quite a run, and like you just said, a lot of it has to do. There's a lot to spread around, but when you have that triple option quarterback and the way he's played in these big games, wow.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, he's definitely climbing the statistical chart, but on top of that, like you said, he's the 8 wins last year, and they already have 7 this year, and the big drive against Navy to win the drought, that alone, the end of the losing streak, that alone pushes him up there, and, kind of in folklore and all that. But then, what he's doing this year and on the pace that he's going, and, I hate to say it, I'm going to knock on wood a little bit, but, they went out, then, it's an 11-2 season, and now it tops the 96 team in the amount of wins in the history of the school. So, yeah, it's definitely put him up there because he would have done it statistically, and he would have done it winning. And like I said, I've been blessed to be around. I played with Ronnie. Ronnie was a senior when I was a freshman, so I got to see what he did, his senior year and how he led the team. And it's funny between, you look at the progression of guys, you go from Ronnie, who, he was drafted as in the NFL.
Yeah.
He was an option quarterback and was drafted. He looks the part of an NFL quarterback, and he could throw like an NFL quarterback, but he ran the offense to perfection. I think his senior year, Ronnie literally had 2 turnovers the entire senior year, or something ridiculous. And we threw the ball a little bit. And then I was coaching when Trent was there and seeing what Trent did, and, really, not winning a lot of the games that we did, but the way he just carried the team and he grew into the offense and was such a hard-nosed man, a young man, and everyone believed in him. And see what he did more statistically, and then fought such a hard-fought win for us, and then we were able to win a ball game. And then now watching, Ahmad, who, helped recruit, and he was a player he was coming in with, and, we were on our way out, and having him on his recruiting visit and seeing how he's grown. So, it's really special. He's definitely on his way to, to being remembered as one of the best quarterbacks to play at Army under this triple option offense. So I'm very proud for him and excited to see where he's going to take the team the rest of this year to finish out the senior campaign.
I was thinking about this. I was thinking about Ronnie McKay. I was thinking about just exactly what you mentioned, that Ronnie got a chance in the NFL. Now, you've coached in the NFL. Can Ahmad play at the next level? I mean, Keenan Reynolds got a chance. I don't know if they're comparable. I mean, Keenan threw a little bit more, but now Keenan's more of a returner / slot type of receiver. What do you think about Ahmad at the next level?
It'll be. I mean, he's built like a lot of NFL running backs. You know what I mean? He's a 5'7", 5'8" kid. And I think he's literally up to like 220 pounds now. You know what I mean? So, on the quarterback side, that wouldn't be what it would be. But, if someone wanted to take a shot at him as a running back, he obviously he shows he can carry the ball. He shows he's a tough, strong runner. Not quite the big breakaway speed, but, the thing is about the NFL, it's there's very few just like featured backs. Guys that get 30 carries a game.
Yeah.
You have the girlies who do it, and Ezekiel Elliott is a guy that can carry a lot of load. And, you got the young guy, Fournette, the kid that looks like he can get that. But even then, they still have 2 or 3 backs that roll through just because the beating that these guys take, and you want to keep them fresh. So, on that aspect, if someone was to give him a shot. Yeah. They will see how hard he works. Obviously, the character issues won't be a concern, and he has capable of him running the football. You know what I mean? So that could be something that if a team wanted to take a shot on him and bring him into camp and see what he does as a pure running back, that wouldn't shock me. Yeah. Because you can never have enough of those guys, and like I said, on an active roster, team's going to have 2. Usually maybe even 3 running backs on their active roster, and then keep a couple guys on their practice squads develop. So it's not far fetched. Like I said, Keenan was a more of a better passer, and probably a little bit faster than Ahmad. But as a pure football player, the kid has proven that what he could do, And it wouldn't surprise me if he got picked up for a team and said, "Hey, let's see what you can do running the football for us."
Yeah, no doubt. We spent a lot of time here on the offense, but we got to talk about that defensive effort, Tony, that Army put up against Air Force. First shutout, first time Air Force has been shut out since 1992 in a bowl game. First shutout of Air Force on their home field since 1980. You're holding Air Force, which came into the game averaging 38 points a game. They don't score. Also, they're the third best running team coming into the game. They don't even get to 100 yards rushing. Wow. I mean, from your perspective and what you saw, I mean, obviously getting Ryan England back helped. Obviously getting Elijah Riley back helped. But the upfront play, like you said, I mean, Army's front seven, if you want to call them that, with Brinson and Ackerman and Nautical and Chris, they were all over the place in that game.
Yeah, it was, as a defensive guy by trade, I love seeing that. Like I said, when we beat them in 2010, we held them to like 103 yards rushing or something like that. And what it looked like, I mean, they did not want to give them a single yard. That's what it looked like. Every single yard that Air Force picked up, and I guess they got a total of 189 yards or whatever, 95 yards, whatever it was. They scratched and clawed for every single yard that they got because the defense was so stingy. And they said, they gained a yard. It seemed like they were really pissed off that they gained a yard. And that's really exciting to see because a lot of it, that's what defense is. And even in times where, like I said earlier, when, they looked like they were going to get the edge on something, our guys just ran them down and made what a couple of years ago would have maybe been a 8 to 10, 15-yard gain to now it looks that way, and all of a sudden, they're tackling for a 2-yard gain or even a loss.
Yeah.
They played with great energy, great effort, just unbridled, ferocity, and it was really great to see, especially from a defensive side of the ball, just to seeing how hard those guys played. And literally, it was like they did not want them to gain a yard, and they played like that. And like I said, it was fun to see that.
Yeah, I know that Air Force like to use Ronald Cleve when he's their speed guy on maybe I would call him jet sweeps, with just trying to get him to the outside, and he's had some really enormous plays for them this year. That did not work on Saturday. Army did a great job shutting him down. Elijah Riley kind of stepped up a little bit and he only had like 3 tackles, but he certainly closed down the edge there and forced the runs into the inside. And England, man, he looked quick out there on Saturday, Tony.
Yeah, I know he was. I know how excitable of a kid he is, and missing all those games. I know he was more than happy in getting back. And like you said, if anything, just being out for that long and just coming back and playing the way he played, you can tell he worked his tail off to maintain his conditioning level for missing 5 games. Because again, no matter how much practicing you do, and I don't know how much he was practicing, obviously, because he was rehabbing the injury. But even on top of that, there's no way to simulate, the fatigue that you get playing a football game, and then coming out here to Colorado and playing that, and he looked like he didn't miss a game.
Yeah.
Not only from the way he moves around the field, but his wind and how he played. So, and I know he's kind of the quarterback back there, and being a 4-year starter and all that. So, like I said, it was really great to see it. And talking about Elijah, one of the most talented guys, especially at that position. And it's not as a quarterback, especially against an option team. A lot of times your stat sheet doesn't show how well you play. Sometimes you can play. I've told guys, my time there coaching, you could not have a single tackle against an option team, but if you do a good job of keeping the receiver off the off the crack block off of your safety and linebackers, and when they do throw the ball, you shut your guy down. You could play a lights out game, and your name could be nowhere on the stat sheet.
Yeah,
and that's just how it is. And he made them tackles, but like you said, he made them string the play out or cut that outside off, so they would have to duck back inside to where his boys were running and making plays. So, like I said, it was complete team effort, and they tackled with physicalness and aggression. It wasn't just getting guys on the ground. They were dropping the hammer on guys, and that's what you'd like to see.
How many times was Arion Worthman hit in this game, and how many times was he hit hard in this game? He took quite a beating from this defense.
Yeah, he did, and it was like across the board. I mean, it was equivalent. You were seeing our offense, getting guys, and they had guys on the ground that were getting helped off, and same the defensive side. It was like a physical game, and our guys, provided the majority of that physicality.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out there, last year Army's defense finished the season 4th in total yardage allowed, and yes, they lost Andrew King and Jeremy Timpf, who were 3-year starters at linebacker, and there was the question of how they would replace those two. When they have everybody healthy, Tony, we saw on Saturday, this defense, I don't know if it is as good as last year's defense, but it can be really formidable when they have everybody healthy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you get a guy like Elijah back, that helps, and you get your quarterback, a 4-year starter, free safety back. To him, that's kind of the equivalent of Bradshaw on the defensive side, because Ryan is so smart, gets everybody lined up, and then I think this defense may be a little bit more like with say the inside guys. They had King and Timpf were tremendous players and leaders. And such hard for those guys, and with the guys in there now like Nautival and Washley and all those guys playing, this defense may be a little bit more athletic, maybe a tad bit more, and but younger, and you can see over the years that they've gotten better and improved. They took some lumps, but for the most part, those lumps ended up you took those lumps in victories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ohio State, that's a different animal by itself. But you take the Tulane game. You got young guys that were in there that made some mistakes that led to points and that may have contributed to that game. But they've learned from that, and from here on, since that time, we've been, they took some lumps and learned from those things. And those same guys that may have made mistakes that cost big plays, they turn right around and make plays on the other end that have led to wins. So it's like you said, overall, this defense, I still think is going to take another leap for these last 3 games that we have, 3 or 4 games, wherever it is.
Yeah. And
it's going to continue to improve, and then I think it's just going to pay off for next year. Because you had guys, Reagan had to play a lot when Ryan is out. That's going to help him. And I think Gibson is only a junior. I think he has another year, if I'm not mistaken. So it's and I know they continue to get more young guys in recruiting, get those up. So it's trending up, and you got those young guys in the middle that are still growing. And I just think it's just so exciting to see how the team is going. We're having so much success, but we're still growing, and they still want more.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, if you look at it, like, John Voight's a senior, Alex Ackerman's a senior, and Ryan England's a senior. And other than that, really, this defense like you said, this defense will come back probably next year. Just possibly, I mean, those are hard guys to replace. John Voight's been a 3-year starter. Ackerman's been a 3-year starter. England's been a 4-year starter. But then you have guys like you said, like a Brinson. You have a Brinson who's a pretty experienced kid that will be coming back. And you know what? I thought their defensive line replacing Andrew McLean when Andrew had the knee injury that cost them the season a couple games ago. Those guys held up. Guys like Ray Wright and Wombi Oetuga. Those guys are doing their jobs. They're just
they are.
They're doing their jobs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And talk about a kid like Brinson. Talk about a kid that plays so well, but no one ever talks about him. You know what I mean? The kid plays so well. He's one of the kids that does so many things right that don't get that you don't see on the stat sheet. But if he's not there, it's a big cog when the defense is missing. He's so solid in the run game and just being in the right position to keep the integrity of the defense. And that's the kid's name. You don't get his name is not called a lot, with plays and tackles and stuff like that. But he's so vital because he's so sound. And when he makes the plays he's supposed to make, that put him on the stat sheet, and then the other plays that helps his teammates make plays, he's always there. And that's just one of those that, and you don't hear anything about him, and he's probably going to be first captain, next year, and leading the team and all that. And it's just so amazing.
It's crazy, yeah. 4.0 grade point average for Kenneth Brinson. And Jeff Monken posted on his Twitter today, they released their Player of the Week awards, which are basically MVPs for the practices and the games. And Kenneth Brinson was their defensive MVP this week, voted by the coaches. Brett Toth and Kalen Holt got the offensive MVPs of the game. Both guys blocking, and Nick Stregg, 4 touchbacks. It's amazing the maturation and the transformation, I should say, of Nick Stregg this year. He is one of the most improved players. Army's punter and kickoff specialist. 4 kickoff, 4 touchbacks. He was the special teams player of the week. And then they also highlight Matt Sinella as a scout team player of the week. He's a senior, and Chris Skyers, who's a freshman defensive back, as a scout team player of the week. Tony, 5 wins in a row now. I mean, and now you get Duke coming home. You come home for your final game at Michie Stadium for the senior class. You play a Duke team which has lost 5 games in a row. They have faced some pretty tough competition. They do play in the ACC. Opening line was a 2-point. Army as a 2-point home underdog. Who knows what that will be on Saturday? But it's another good test for this team because you're playing, a Power 5 conference team, and if Army wins this game, they'll finish the season 6-0 at Michie Stadium. That was one of their top goals of the season. You can celebrate the Air Force win, but you got to go back to work this week, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and just like what I said earlier, like I said, they were excited about the win and about the work they put in to get it, and they were all like, okay, we're going to enjoy it. And guys said it to me, yeah, we're going to enjoy this thing, but get ready to go on and play Duke next week. You know what I mean? And it's also I got to talk to Jack at the game, and I have followed him and a few other guys on Twitter, and he posted something I think yesterday. It was like, so blessed to wake up 7-2. But it's on the Duke, what I mean? And that's the perfect mindset that you need to have. That they're not satisfied; they want more. They're greedy, and it's a good greed. It's a good greed to have. They have that hunger to keep winning, and they're never satisfied with it. And that's huge. And like I said, Duke. Talking about Duke, they're a good program. Coach Cutcliffe has done a great job since he's been there, and and the other part of it, they play a option team every year, so it's not foreign to them. They play Georgia Tech every year, and like the week before they played us. So they have 2 weeks to do it, and I'm pretty sure they're coming up a bye week this week.
Yeah, so they were.
They were working on it for 2 weeks, so it's just going to be athletes, and it's going to be a challenge. But that's what our guys want. That's what they're looking for, and they're not going to be intimidated by it, and they're going to attack it head on. And they're done with Air Force now. That's old news, and they're already worried about Duke and focusing on what it's going to take to beat those guys.
Yeah, we'll wrap up this podcast. Great insight, Tony, this week, and we got to do this again. And like we said, we'll see what happens with Army Saturday at Michie Stadium. Final home game for the Black Knights, 7-2, looking for their 8th win of the season against a tough Duke team. Appreciate the time, Tony.
All right, thank you, man. Look forward to talking to you later on, and can't wait till this weekend.